Well, round 3 of the Hardball Bowl is in the books. It is 12:10 a.m. Eastern here on technically Tuesday, November 26th. And it's a victory Tuesday for this Ravens flock fan base. Sarah, 30-23 is the final. Ravens over the Chargers in Los Angeles on Monday Night Football. Lamar's dominance under the primetime lights on Monday Night Football on the road continues. John Harbaugh's dominance over his younger brother, albeit a 3-game sample size in terms of regular season play, including the Super Bowl, continues. But most importantly, Baltimore improves to 8-4, now a half game out of the division lead in the Pittsburgh Steelers. With the Eagles looming, it's going to be a short week. Welcome inside the post-game show. This is, of course, Inside the Vault. Not as sharp at 12:10 a.m. Eastern. But, hey, it's brought to you by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association. Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett. Great to see you, partner. How's it going?
Oh, it's going well. Listen. You don't bet against Lamar Jackson in prime time, okay? You don't bet against the older brother, against the younger brother. The older brother is now 3-0. The defense, we have to talk about the defense. What a performance by Zach Orr with his defensive leader out. It's just a good morning, I guess, a good night, a good morning to be a Ravens fan, because just like that, this is a week-to-week league. It's a week-to-week league, and the Ravens are on their way climbing back up that AFC North ladder.
And here it is. Lamar was 17-4 coming off a loss entering Week 12. He is now 18-4 in his career, coming off a loss, which is exactly what the Ravens were doing after that clunker in Pittsburgh. They get right, 8-4. Again, good for a half-game difference through 12 weeks of football between Baltimore and their biggest rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cincy, 4-7. Cleveland, 3-8. And my, oh my, as Albert Breer noted here, yeah, this was a really good win for the Ravens on the road. They churned out over 200 yards on 37 carries. We'll get to the Kings' performance in just a bit. And after yielding a touchdown on the opening drive for the Chargers, Baltimore's next 7 defensive possessions went as follows: punt, field goal, punt, field goal, field goal, punt, punt. That's going to win you a lot of games. It did so for the Ravens tonight. And that, again, the umbrella over all that is that Roquan Smith, after a pregame workout, Sarah, could not go and missed his first game as a Raven due to injury with that hamstring.
What's funny with what Albert Breer is pointing out is with all those defensive punts, field goals, punts, field goals, field goal, punt, the Ravens went on a 4-drive scoring streak. And then did a punt right before the end of the game. I mean, just an absolute flip. The game absolutely flipped, and you have to give credit where credit is due. It's when John Harbaugh made that first 4th down, aggressive, gutsy, courageous, whatever you want to call it, guts of steel, to go for it on 4th and 1 from your own 16 with your brother across the way. You pointed it out. He put his stamp on the ball game. Bobby, that is when the game flipped. It turned into a 93-yard drive, touchdown, and because of it, the Ravens could go up 14, ended up being 13 because the Chargers came back and put up a field goal, but it put them up 14-13 when previously, I mean, they started out slow again. They got to get back to starting quick. At the beginning of the season, they did. But that was it. He said in the post-game presser, Bobby, that you make decisions like that because you know who's across the field. You know that up to that point, the Chargers were dominating the time of possession. And he's like, forget this. Here's what's hilarious. We know in the past, it's iconic, right? When in Seattle, Lamar or John Harbaugh goes to Lamar and says, hey, Lamar, do you want to go for it? Well, this time around, Lamar said in the postgame presser that he thought they were going to punt. He tried to get him off sides with the hard count. And so he goes to the sideline thinking we're going to punt. And then he's like, then coach said we're going for it. And he's like, all right, cool. I have confidence in us too. And so Lamar himself thought it was punt time. But John Harbaugh was like, nah. And then he went on to be for 3 for 3 on 4th down.
3 for 3, 8 for 15 on 3rd down. That's how you win ball games. Lamar was electric when he needed to be on 3rd down and, of course, executing on 4th down. But you put it all together here on what became a 93-yard touchdown drive in the closing moments of the second quarter. Now, the defense did give up 3 in the closing seconds of the second quarter.
Right.
Talk about what was the game-changing decision, and that's what you just referenced. Again, on your own 16, 4th and 1, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck sounded like they didn't. It's like these guys lost their minds. They couldn't see what they were
They
seeing.
couldn't focus on the next play. Like
Exactly.
the Ravens in like 3 plays later were like within scoring position, and they still couldn't get over what they had just seen.
I think we all would echo those sentiments. We're all like, wow, okay, yeah, this is gutsy. This is some stones here from Harbaugh. And it ended up paying significant dividends. It was an aggressive play. It was one that was one of your gut check type plays, as he so often says. They are absolutely an analytics driven team. There's no analytics, Sarah, in the history of the damn category that's going to tell you to go for it in that situation. That is a gut feeling. That is a gut decision. John Harbaugh followed his gut, trusted his gut, and it paid off. And, along the way,
rewarded him. Completely rewarded him. They were like, know what? We're going to prove our coach right. That was with that Zay Flowers 22-yarder, which, by the way, Bobby, did you catch Lamar Jackson out of nowhere running down to kind of escort him? But Lamar was ready to block all the way down to the end zone if Zay Flowers was going to stay in bounds. But Zay had that 44-yarder. Then the insane 40-yard touchdown catch to Rashad Bateman. And by the way, just the play before that, Rashad Bateman had drawn another DPI from the same guy, Christian Fulton. Like, he had Christian Fulton's number. And so sorry to interrupt you. I just feel like the players proved Harbaugh right. When your coach bets on you, you better make that bet worth it.
So let's reiterate it, right? Like that. I think that's the reason why I wanted to revisit it. As much as we talk about when things go the opposite way, when things go sideways, and there's a major dialogue and discourse, deservedly so, around these decisions, it should be talked about just as much, if not more, when it goes in his favor. And it wasn't just in that moment impactful. This decided the way the game would go, and it changed the game there in that second quarter. And is there anybody, by the way, not named Zay Flowers and Justice Hill, who have more burst to a sideline, who run away from people more so than those two guys, 43 and 4? These guys had big-time, electrifying, explosive plays. Zay's was crucial here. Justice's was crucial in the second half. A 50-plus yard catch and run for Justice Hill. So just so many different angles to look at here. Super chats are flying in right now. Let's get some folks in here. Charlie Gibson with $1.99. Appreciate you for being here, Charlie. Alex writes, great win tonight. Something that'll go untalked about is Justin Tucker's kicks. They look consistently dead center. Also, a lot of the flock owe Malik Harrison an apology, me being one of them. The guy balled out. Antonio, we're going to get to Malik in just a bit and give him his due for sure. Antonio says the refs were on like Dr. Harris was earlier. That's from a pregame show. Tongsley says, so happy with the defense. Great game. Dreams writes, LJ had a lane and didn't run and almost threw an interception. LJ doesn't have a lane. He decides to run. I don't know what he's doing with his decision-making. Happy with the win, but I don't get his hesitancy lately. I think that's probably a decent word for it, whether it's tentative or hesitant or indecisive. We've seen that back-to-back weeks, Sarah. Reggie throws in a super chat donation. Antonio does as well. Game balls to Harbaugh and number 40. That's Malik Harrison. The defense is trending up. Minx the Cutie says, can we do a history lesson during the bye week to learn about a leg whip penalty? I'm still upset about that. That was a penalty committed by Patrick Ricard in the opening quarter. We'll get to that when we run through some of the weird, bizarre, strange penalties that popped up tonight. JP Bug says, good road win. Leg whip? Everybody wants in on the leg whip, Sarah. Prince Lee says, great win, Flock Nation. Can't stay long. I'm sleepy. Ephraim says 1, Harbs outcoached
Fight
his
through it.
brother. Fight through it, baby. No ghost energy over here, by the way. This is true adrenaline. You and Kadri are going to be happy about that.
Yes,
1,
I am happy about that.
Harbs outcoached his brother. Ephraim says 2, it's not rocket science. Feed Henry, and it's the best offense ever. Yards per play. 3, was Marcus Williams really the problem? Thank you guys for being here. Over 2,100 of you joining us right now. It is 12:20 a.m. Eastern. It's technically Tuesday morning. We're glad to be with you here in post-game form.
Bobby, we know that John Harbaugh is the older brother, but look at this. The entire Chargers organization is still the younger brother. It was nice to see so many reunions after the game. We saw the John and Jim. When John hugs Jim, he says, "You're a great coach. You have a great team." Jim says, "I love you." John says, "I love you too." John Harbaugh has the upper hand as the bigger brother, but the Ravens organization still has the upper hand as the bigger brother to the Chargers organization. To the left, you see J.K. Dobbins, who didn't finish the game, which is really heartbreaking. I mean, nobody in Baltimore wanted to see him go off because obviously Baltimore wants Baltimore to win, but we also didn't want to see J.K. Dobbins get hurt. And that's the irony of all of this. The irony is that one of the reasons why the Ravens moved on from J.K. and Gus was the injury history. And obviously the Ravens have no regrets, but we had NFL Chargers insiders saying that J.K. and Gus were both out to prove something. They weren't able to do it, but much love to J.K. Hopefully he gets a speedy recovery. Sounds like he has a knee injury. I hope it's nothing serious. But this is one of the reasons why the Ravens needed to move on. So there's J.K. with his reunion. Jefferson there with
Tony Jefferson.
Yep. Tony Jefferson hugging Zay Flowers, and then Bradley Bozeman with Ronnie Stanley. And so when you have 16 former Ravens, you can for sure have a solid franchise. These are all guys that the Ravens let go in preference of somebody else. They wanted to prove that they shouldn't be let go. They were not able to do that tonight. The Ravens, to me, outside of the very beginning, the first quarter where the Ravens started slow, once they had that flip from the fourth and 1 at the 16, it just never felt like the Chargers threatened again. Both on defense, offense, and special teams, it just seemed like the Ravens were in complete control of their younger brother that is the Chargers franchise right now.
And this dude was certainly at the center of it, who improved his career Monday Night Football record to 7-2, did Lamar Jackson. 22 touchdown passes over those 9 games. And clean football. No picks. Tonight, a completion percentage of 72.7, 2 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 126.5.
3 touchdowns if you count the rushing touchdown.
And we should.
So he's got 30 touchdowns on the season to 3 interceptions. What a gorgeous differential. Touchdown to interception differential.
MV3 still alive and well. He finished with an average time to throw of 3.43 seconds against the Chargers. That's the 3rd longest so far this season. He accumulated 158 of 177 yards on dropbacks over 2.5 seconds. All statistics put together by Next Gen. He's accounted for 3 of the longest TTT marks this season. What the heck is that? TTT. I'm going to have to go look that up. But anyway, you see his passing chart tonight. 16 of 22, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, a lot of green dots on there.
A lot of green dots, and some of them pretty deep. Especially that touchdown one to Rashad Bateman. But he's got a couple of deep passes above. How many are 20 yards or more? I mean, there's 2. He's 2 for 2, 20 yards or more, according to this graphic. Plus, he's got a couple more right there at the 15-yard line, 15 yards. It's just, I mean, he's just great in prime time. He's just great in prime time.
Thank you, chat, for helping my post-midnight brain. Time to throw. TTT, time to throw. So, and then historically, the best win percentage in primetime games. This is starting QBs since the 1970 merger with a minimum of 15 starts. Well, looky here. Look who's 1 and 2. A friend of the show, and QB1 in Baltimore. Lamar leads the way with a winning percentage of .800. He's 20-5, Sarah, in primetime games. That's the best. That's the best winning percentage since the merger. Steve Young, 23-7, a percentage of 767 is 2. Ken Stabler and Joe Montana on this list. Not so bad company there for 8.
You should never bet against Lamar Jackson in prime time, and you don't bet against Lamar Jackson against the NFC, and you don't bet against Lamar Jackson against the Bengals. Those are the trends that we're beginning to see. I mean, when you're right up there with the Steve Youngs and Joe Montanas and Ken Stablers of the world, you're looking pretty good. And then he's got that top 10 chain on because Zay Flowers interrupted his ESPN interview saying, top 10, because he's talking about top 10 plays. Look at that. Put it on. Zay Flowers there. And he says, actually, top 2, and you're not number 2. So Zay Flowers trying to fill the role of Mark Ingram in gassing up. But in this case, the gassing is deserved. But being like the hype man for his quarterback.
And how about that rushing touchdown that you made sure to add into the total tally from the second quarter? It capped a 7-play, 70-yard drive spanning just over 3 minutes. And look what Lamar did. He pulled out his signature move. It wasn't as clean as the high school one, but man, it was still pretty darn fun to watch. The hezzy right before the goal line. The Chargers defender, all he could do was, and he did get a hand on Lamar. There was a little bit of contact there, but what an electrifying run from Lamar. And again, remember, they were backed up, weren't they? They were backed up the play prior because of a friggin', what do you know? Why do you think they were backed up, Sarah? An illegal formation.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't care. 1st and 10, still first and goal. Lamar takes it himself.
It's crazy because the Chargers had the number 2 red zone defense coming into this game. We highlighted it in the preview. They're the number 2 red zone defense. The Ravens, however, number 1. And so they essentially scored on them twice in a row. And Bobby, this game just reminds you of how explosive this offense is. From the Justice Hill big run, Derrick Henry had a couple big runs. I think this is the first game he didn't have a touchdown.
Yes, this
since
was.
He's a Raven, which is too bad because he actually, the irony to that is that I felt like it was Derrick Henry really getting going that kind of powered the rest of the offense.
Yes.
And I was happy that Todd Monken was patient because there were several times where to begin that Derrick Henry wasn't gaining a lot, but then all of a sudden he started to get going. And so, yeah, just this number 1 red zone offense having no problem against the number 2 red zone defense, which just reiterates once again, it's only the Ravens that get in their own way and shoot themselves in the foot. Because the 22-yarder to Zay, the 40-yarder to Bateman, the Justice Hill 51-yarder, Henry knocking out 10, 20 here and there. I mean, it's, and I believe it really is all predicated on being patient and getting Derrick Henry going. Because if you're patient, even if he's doing 1-yard, 2-yard gains, eventually he's going to break some. But more importantly, the linebackers and the defense are going to be sucked in whenever there's a threat of him. So you will be more explosive if Todd Monken does what he did tonight, and just keep tonight. Derrick Henry had more yards at the top of the third quarter than he did all of the Pittsburgh game. Feed Derrick Henry and good things happen, including right here where Lamar Jackson gets a chance to run it in himself because everybody was looking at Derrick Henry.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, while the touchdown streak did end at 11 straight games for Derrick to begin his career as a Raven, remember, he did punch one in. It was just called back. So
right, which led to this one that's on the screen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
24 carries, 140 yards for an average of 5.8, while the NFL rushing leader through 12 weeks is Saquon after a superhuman performance on Sunday. Derrick is still there, and he certainly had a game-changing performance in the second half. And good news is, while he's being viewed as a bargain because of how important he is to this offense and just the fact that he signed on day 2 of free agency for 2 years, 16 million. He is hitting what seems to be weekly incentive, Sarah. He's now over 1,200 yards for the season. That kicks in another 500,000 in incentives earned.
Cha-ching!
So exactly. So thus far, 3 of the 4 that you see on the screen, tallied up by Jonas Schaefer of the Baltimore Banner, have been hit. 13 total touchdowns. Unlock 500 grand. 15 total touchdowns.
Cha-ching!
Unlock 500 grand. 1,200 rushing yards.
Cha-ching!
Unlock 500. Why can't I speak? Unlock 500 grand. And will he hit the 1,500 rushing
I think
category?
he'll hit 15. I don't know about 2,000, which is what we wanted to see, but I think he'll hit 15.
Sarah, this photo right here was the second of 2 stiff arms on the same play in a matter of seconds. He is superhuman. He is vicious. He is violent. He's not fun to be involved with unless you're with him, unless you're riding for him.
That was just icing on the cake for me, Bobby, because this was also on a 3rd and 1, I believe, or 3rd and short. And the Chargers read it correctly. And I think the linebacker was right there. He first stiff-armed him. And then look at this poor defensive back. What's this man supposed to do? He didn't even make some of these defensive backs. They make business decisions. This man didn't and paid. He paid. And Derek just went ahead and got the first down. It's all I really needed in my life was a double stiff arm from Derrick Henry in a Ravens uniform. It was just a cherry on the cake tonight, seeing that after the night that he had.
And keep in mind, that's on 3rd and 1 you're looking at right here.
Yeah.
An area that they were dominant in tonight. 8 for 15 on 3rd down, 3 for 3, as we've mentioned a couple times, and it warrants repeat on 4th down, which was really the game-defining area that John Harbaugh inserted his force on. Super chats are flying in. Jang writes, I meant to say thanks for covering the game, not the show. Sorry, it's way past bedtime for me. Look, Jang, I don't even know what you're referencing right now, but we're on the same page. I can't even speak English right now. I'm going to try my best over the next second half of the show. But she writes, sorry, it's way past bedtime for me. LOL. Appreciate you two for all that you do. Feelings mutual. Julian says, if this Ravens team shows up regularly, we beat anyone. By the way, sorry about my sister, Bobby. That's a pregame show inside joke. She ended up in the background of the show and in the middle of an argument on a phone, and it got a little heated.
Oh.
I was about to ask her if she wanted to come on because the Ravens needed that kind of passion tonight. And they got some of that. Yeah, it was a little spicy.
Okay.
Steve Ashley writes, Lamar remembers not being able to impact the game versus the Chiefs last year with his legs due to wear and tear. Lamar's mission is to be that guy this year.
Yep,
Aiden writes, I think LJ is having his best season ever. Some might call it hesitancy, but he's just making so few mistakes. 3 picks, and they weren't even his fault. All 3 of them were not his fault. Prince Lee writes, no Keaton Mitchell and likely tonight. Isaiah did recover the onside kick to seal this one. Keaton had a bobble in the end zone as a return specialist. I don't think he got a carry tonight. Justice did. We have to mention him in a bit. Charlie Gibson writes, bringing my sister, an Eagles fan, to the bank. Let's win. Richard says, it's a short week. It's a short week. It's Thanksgiving. It's coming up. Richard says, UK Ravens fan, 5:20 and buzzing. That's awesome,
Woo!
Richard. Remember, 6-hour time difference. Defense trending in the right direction. Lamar's reluctance to tuck and run when there's obvious first downs is worrying. Jang writes, slow start, but I'm glad we won, and I won't wake up grumpy tomorrow. Win or lose, thanks for covering the game, Bobby and Sarah. Let's go Ravens. Darian Covington writes, thanks for hanging out with us for another late night stream, Bobby and Sarah. Glad we got the win. John Harbaugh showed up strong tonight, and it was great to see his confidence. We are fully caught up for the time being. Where to next, partner?
Well, I figured before we get over to the defense, and there's a lot to say there, what if we just revisit quickly each touchdown? Because each one was kind of fun in of itself. We already did Lamar looking like his high school days with that move. If it's not broke, don't try to fix it. Okay. Then we know the Brashad Bateman one, but let's look at some of the that one got it. Okay, here we go. This one to Rashad Bateman. I just want to look at this. Look at this. Fulton's arm is around his neck on the left screenshot. And on the right screenshot, he's got his hand on the ball. It's right there. And Bateman still comes down with it. So Lamar Jackson, according to Jamison Hensley, has 2 touchdown passes of 40-plus yards. Both of them completed to Rashad Bateman. And also, as Jeff Zrebeck noted, Bateman now has 5 touchdown catches on the season. Yeah. That's 1 more than he had in his first 3 NFL seasons combined. Yep. Combined. And it was so unbelievable that check out Jason Kelce and Scott Van Pelt, who are on the sideline watching it. And you know what? Football players just appreciate good football plays. And that is Jason Kelce right there with his arm and fist up, his jaw on the ground, his eyes wide open. Scott Van Pelt just doing an old referee touchdown. But Jason Kelce appreciates a phenomenal football play, and that's what Bateman delivered right there. And Lamar had the ball on the money. After Lamar, by the way, he even admitted it in the post-game presser that he started off a little bit, throwing balls too far. They were kind of sailing on him. But obviously, he got it under control and absolutely put it in the perfect place for Bateman here.
This is one of those catches, and he's had several of them this year, which makes some of the routine drops that he'll have occasionally so mind-boggling. This was a ridiculous catch. Not only does he alpha dog the DB in single coverage, who was draped all over him, but he has the awareness and the ball tracking skill to find and the mid-air adjustment, the mid-route adjustment to turn his body and make sure that he can find and locate and track this football. That was elite stuff from Rashad Bateman.
Perfect word to describe it, elite. Chat is saying to look at the referee.
Where is he?
The referee's to the left of Jason Kelce. Look at him, dude. He does not look happy.
Yeah, why does he look like he just missed out on a bet or something?
Yeah, like it's not even like a focused look. Like I can see how you're not smiling because you're like impartial. It's not like he's supposed to be cheering, but he looks bored and angry and like he just wants to, I don't know. Like he's bored unless he gets to pull out a flag, but he got to pull out a flag. Yep. So I don't know, but that is funny. I did not notice that until chat pointed it out.
So that was another ridiculous end of a drive.
Yes.
You had 89. Speaking of a dude who is having himself a streak here, right after the quiet first month of the season. Don't look now, but Mark Andrews has 6 touchdown catches in the past 7 games. I don't know what the official who was standing right on top saw here, that it wasn't immediately ruled a touchdown. Mark Andrews mossed his defender, finds a way to fight for that ball, which really looked to be 50-50 for a split second. Comes down with it. Big time catch from Mark Andrews. He and Lamar were on point today, particularly when it came to the street ball improvisation that they are so electric in.
Yeah. Well, on the referee call, first of all, you'd think it would have been the opposite, that they would have ruled it a touchdown, and then maybe if they went to replay, they could see if there was some sort of bobble or something. But they opted to lead with that and have that as the default rather than the reverse. So I don't know who came over to some ref, obviously reversed it, but it was absolutely the right call. And just the way, look at how Andrews is literally horizontal.
Yeah.
Like he's just horizontal, like next to this guy. I don't even know if it was necessary. Like he just jumped up and then he had to like come back down for it. It was just to your point about the streak that he's on. It feels like Mark Andrews is returning to Mark Andrews pre-injury. But he's doing it with Lamar while Lamar is still spreading the ball out. Whether, it's Nelson Aguilar, even though that was brought back, or Rashad Bateman or Zay Flowers or Justice Hill is in a screen or something. Like there were so many times when it was just the broken down play. They had the chemistry and Lamar went to him when things were broken down.
Let me tell you
And
what.
yeah.
Nope. Sorry. Finish that thought.
Well, if it's on that, I was just going to give Andrews full. He was 5 receptions, 44 yards, but he was targeted 5 times. Zay Flowers also had 5 receptions, but had 8 targets. Like everything that went Mark Andrews' way, he caught.
Yeah.
And so they were kind of in the shorter realm. They weren't deep ones because it was only for 44 yards, but it just seemed like he was constantly there for Lamar when Lamar needed him.
And the only other hookup that we haven't discussed, at least at length, is Justice Hill quite literally running away from his defenders, finding space down the left-hand sideline. Good night, sayonara to the house, 51 to the crib. What a great compliment he continues to be to Derrick Henry. The longest run the Chargers have allowed this season, Sarah, and 43. He's been the glue guy for so many years. He was extended in the offseason for a team-friendly kind of extension by Eric DeCosta and company. But, man, his impact knows no bounds. Justice Hill, somebody that when you see him making his mark like that on primetime, when on the opposite side, 2 players that he sat behind for years, and Gus and JK are there, it's just it's hard not to feel things for Justice on a night like tonight.
So many angles that we could go with this on. So who's the bigger steal? Justice Hill at $3 million per year, or Derrick Henry at $8 million per year?
That you could have that argument until the cows come home.
For sure, I'm still taking Henry. But there was a super chat that was angry that Isaiah Likely and Keaton Mitchell didn't get the ball. Like I hear you, but at the same time, like we just talked about Mark Andrews and what he did, and now look at Justice Hill. The way Justice Hill hit that corner, Bobby, hit the corner, nobody could catch him when he went all the way, did remind me a little bit of Keaton Mitchell. Now, he wasn't as fast as Keaton, especially pre-injury. Wasn't quite as fast. I was a little bit nervous for a second that he might get caught. Like, he was looking back. I was like, he's not going to get caught, is he? Like, Justice is pretty fast. And he didn't get caught. He went the 51 yards. Lamar knew that Justice was gone. We saw him celebrating with the hand, the number 1, hand up. And so it's just this 1-2 punch between Derrick Henry and Justice Hill. As much as I'd like to see Keaton, it's one of those things again that like if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like he hit that corner and he was gone. Gone. So I just am loving that 1-2 punch. And Bobby, so there's that angle, like who's a better steal? He's making it so that Keaton Mitchell can't get on the field because he's playing so well. And then on top of it, again, it's a night where J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards had a rematch. And again, you do not wish for anybody to have an injury. But these guys wanted to come in and prove something. But instead, it was Justice Hill and Derrick Henry who proved, the Ravens were right. The Ravens were right to move on. We're making the offense better. We're alleviating Lamar Jackson in ways that, it was just another level. And they've been available, both these guys, nonstop.
Justice has earned the right to be in this rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at the blitz pickup on that Mark Andrews touchdown. 43 is always doing the dirty work. And so to see him have a headliner kind of moment under the primetime lights against the Chargers with all the ties, there's something that's very satisfying about that for Justice. More super chats. Oceans writes, SVP, Scott Van Pelt, is a Maryland guy, so no surprise, LOL. He's actually a Commanders guy, though. He is a Maryland guy, but he's a DC Commanders fan. Leslie writes, they are saving Keaton.
Everything.
What's it? Yeah. He's a huge, and everybody in Commanders land coming off the Cowboys game this past weekend, it's still struggling, I'm sure, to move on. Leslie writes, they are saving Keaton for the postseason. Ryan says, longtime Spotify listener from Troy, New York. Okay, 518, right down the road from me. I'm in Albany right now. It's super cool. My father lives in Troy. Ryan says, first time joining live. Great win, especially since my brother's a Chargers fan. Appreciate you both. John said, feelings mutual. Appreciate you, Ryan. John says, my brother Noah kept talking smack on Zay Flowers. Can you please say that Noah stinks? LOL, he's watching. Noah, you stink. Thanks for watching. Sarah, you got to tell him that too.
Noah, Zay Flowers is really good. You got to come on board, buddy.
Truth, let him down easy. Truth Bearer says that Derrick Henry stiff arm is what separates him from Saquon, who is untouched far more often because of massive holes opened by the Eagles' offensive line. We are fully caught up.
Jumping over people backwards.
Oh, is he ever? Sarah, let's make sure we get our read in here
for
GEHA. That's Government Employees Health Association, who's been kind enough to be working with us here all football season long. And they have an awesome new sweepstakes that we wanted to tell you about tonight. And they have a message for you, the Ravens flock. Show off your purple pride and join your team for an exclusive pregame tunnel experience. You can enter to win the GEHA Tunnel Takeover Sweepstakes for your chance to score game tickets to the December 21st game as your Baltimore Ravens take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, that is December 21st inside the bank. I'm going to pull up the site as well so that you can see how easy it is to register.
Oh, that's cool.
Right here. That easy. Plus, you're going to win, if you win, game day parking, backyard bash passes, and more are all included. You can get up close as the Ravens get ready to storm the field by entering the GEHA Tunnel Takeover Sweepstakes at BaltimoreRavens.com/GEHA, which is what you're seeing up on the screen right now. We have that link specifically included for you as a pinned comment in the live chat. Again, that's BaltimoreRavens.com/GEHA to register today. Government Employees Health Association has offered health and dental benefits for more than 87 years, and they are designed to meet the needs of federal employees and retirees, military retirees, and their families. With over 2 million members, GEHA continues to serve those members and families who serve all of us every day. At GEHA, your health isn't our business, it's our purpose. GEHA, proud partner of the Baltimore Ravens. You can learn more by visiting GEHA.com/RavensVault. All that information is included in the show notes. Again, the link to enter into the sweepstakes is a pinned comment right now in the live chat. Go check it out. December 21st, under a month from right now, Chapter 2, Ravens Steelers. Special thank you to GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, for the continued support of our channel.
As somebody that's seen those tunnel entrances and has been down there a few times, it's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. GHA is getting that going on. You guys gotta enter those sweepstakes for sure. That's cool.
Do you think that we've covered the offense thoroughly enough?
I feel like we have. I feel like we've we'll get to referee stuff later because we can get into more of the calls that were called on the offense. But I feel like we got it. I feel like we got it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to the penalties later on then. They were penalized 9 times for 102 yards.
Ugh, yeah,
they will continue to be. They'll continue to be in the bottom part of the league there in that category, but it wasn't enough to obviously sideline them from a win tonight. So defense, here we go. I tweeted out after the game, and I should probably pull up what I quote tweeted as well on top of that because I think that's relevant to this. So 3 hours ago, I tweeted, if Roquan's value wasn't already universally understood, it's sure as heck going to be after tonight. And that was after the opening drive. Got caught in the moment a little bit, prisoner of the moment, as some of us can be sometimes on X. And I came back and quote tweeted, and I said, look, Roquan's never not going to be missed. But that was, I thought, an impressive, quote, by committee approach taken by Zach Orr and company. And based on the way Malik Harrison rebounded from that opening drive and how impactful he was, how hard-hitting he was, I think he's deserving of a game ball, and he got exactly that from John Harbaugh. He finished with 12 total tackles, Sarah. 12 of them. That's a game-high number for Malik, and Spenny's in agreement. He was the best defender on the field tonight for the Ravens with no Roquan Smith, partner.
Malik Harrison was an absolute thumper tonight. Bobby, I felt hits here through the computer screen. I was just like, holy moly. What's crazy about it is that he opened up, which is why you just called yourself a prisoner of the moment. That first drive was really bad. There was a point where Justin Herbert threw right over him and Trenton Simpson, and Harrison looked lost. He looked lost. And then I think it was the next drive where he got caught up in the wash, and the broadcast highlighted that he didn't even pick a gap. He just was waiting behind one of his defensive linemen and then never got there. I think it was J.K. Dobbins who came on for a first down for more than 10 yards. And so I'm like, oh, things are not going to go well for Malik Harrison. But as he said in the post-game presser, he said, look, the first drive, I had jitter. It was like those jitters. And he's like, I just had to get that first drive out and get into the game. He talked about how all week, when he knew it was a possibility that Roquan might not play, he said he prepared his arse off, as we like to say here in the vault.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said there were so many people that doubted me. So he heard the doubts for sure. And he may have heard all the tweets that were going on out there after that first drive, right? Yeah. Subconsciously. But then he just turned it around and he was everywhere. He was absolutely everywhere. And then he let the Chargers offensive players know that he was everywhere, because every time it hurt, every time he hit somebody, you heard that clap. You heard the clap of the pads hitting, the clap of bones on bones, the clap of helmet on helmet. It just was he was just everywhere, and he made his presence felt. And I kind of liked it because, Bobby, it seemed to me that the defense, after a slow start, and on offense, by the way, I feel like the Ravens became the more physical team. And I know that's what the Chargers are trying to build, because that's in the Harbaugh blood. And it's also in Joe Ortiz's blood, because he came up with EDC under Ozzie Newsome too. So I know that they wanted to be the more physical team, but the Ravens were. And on offense, I think it started with Derrick Henry. And on defense, the physicality, I felt like started with Malik Harrison. Like, if you had told me before the game that Zach Orr was going to successfully employ this linebacker by committee approach successfully, I would have been surprised. Like, Christian Welch was in there. We didn't even have him on our radar, Bobby. We didn't even have him on our radar because he just got re-signed. The Ravens cut him a couple weeks ago. They just re-signed him to the practice squad. And then right before the game, he was elevated from the practice squad to be able to play. And so I was just really pleasantly surprised when Malik Harrison got the jitters out and then was everywhere and really set a tone with his hitting.
One of his teammates is coming to his defense as of seconds ago. Jalen Armour Davis, corner for the Ravens, quote tweeted a video of that exact play that you were just describing, of him getting caught in the wash, which led to a big gap for J.K. Dobbins and a first down. And Jalen says, now post all the great plays he made. And there were plenty of them.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy there from Jalen. But again,
he
had guys.
My tweet?
No. Jalen Armour Davis quote tweeted a video put up by Ostreicher.
Okay.
That showed the play that you were referencing.
But Ostreicher took the video from, right. Got it.
And he said, now,
the video for me. Yeah.
Okay. He said, now post all the great plays he made. Jalen does. And there were plenty of them. He's got his limitations, Malik does. But he was a tone setter tonight. And in the absence of Roquan Smith, to your point, he brought that extra sense of physicality that could be lacking without their leader. And I don't think it's any coincidence, Sarah, that there were no big gaffes tonight. There were no big breakdowns tonight. Kyle Hamilton's wearing the green dot in Roquan's absence. He and Ardarius have things covered on the back end.
Yes, they do.
And that is the formula moving forward for this team defensively.
Well, I'll tell you what, who else I thought had a fantastic night, and that was Nate Wiggins. Now, again, he wasn't without his hiccups. Obviously, he had that 15-yard penalty on the punt. And he also took not the best angle when Zach Orr sent him on a blitz. On the next play, Marlon Humphrey showed him how to do those. But Nate Wiggins will get his opportunity again, I'm sure, because he was fast to that line and then just like took a big like arc around to Herbert. You just got to get straight to him. Okay. So those were like his little rookie moments, but they paled in comparison to what he was doing in coverage. I thought for sure Justin Herbert would continue to attack the middle of the field. But then he went on a little streak of targeting Nate Wiggins. And Wiggins was like, no problem. Keep coming at me, buddy. Keep it coming. Because all he was doing early was pass breakups. I mean, Justin Herbert was coming after him. Nate Wiggins wasn't having that. There were so many times where, like, whether it was a pass breakup or just being in the exact correct position, or how about the one where I think it was his first one, where the guy essentially had it caught and Nate came in, as skinny as the guy is, and hit him and knocked the ball out of his arms. I'm very excited to see his numbers from PFF tomorrow, to see exactly how many yards he gave up. I know he did allow a couple catches, but they were short. Anytime they try to go deep on Nate Wiggins, he was the Mutombo finger. The Mutombo finger, not happening, so quit coming my way. But they kept trying him, and I just thought he was locked down in coverage.
Well said. His continued development is happening right before our eyes, and that expanded role, they're giving it to him, and he's earning it. Sarah, the Ravens defense had allowed 50 pass plays of 20 yards or more, which was the second most in the league entering tonight. 0 of those were allowed tonight. 0. So they've figured something out here in recent weeks.
They really have.
This Chargers offense was operating at a different clip compared to what Pittsburgh gives you. And I get it. Russ Wilson and company going into last week, or 2 weekends ago now, were scoring at over 30 points a game in the previous 3 going in. But it's different. There's different weapons, different quarterback, different mobility from a Justin Herbert perspective, so on and so forth. But this defense came to play tonight. And you hope that Roquan Smith and that hamstring is more precautionary. He went through a lengthy workout, according to beat reporters like Jeff, pregame, over 20 minutes, and it looked to be a pretty intense kind of workout. John Harbaugh was asked postgame whether or not he was close. Really wouldn't give a concrete answer. But you hope that's a multi-week thing, because you saw Roquan through 3 quarters, Sarah, after this alignment change, this personnel change on the back end was made. He was looking like the Roquan of old. A couple tackles for loss, flying around, an impact like Malik Harrison had today through those first 3 quarters in Pittsburgh 2 weekends ago for Rowe, before he went down with the hamstring. You get him back in there, this is what we've been asking for. Can you get the defense back to a place where it's statistically at somewhere not in the bottom corridor of the league? And I think they're starting to make slow steps, slow strides to doing so.
They definitely have found their defensive back formula. And the fact that they could hold up without Roquan there, I do think speaks volumes. And I mean, the communication is so on point. It's now been, since they've gone to this new defensive back formula, there hasn't been the shrug arm emoji towards each other with coverage breakdowns. Now at the end, on that final offensive drive for the Chargers, the refs were pulling out the flags left and right. Some of them a little bit iffy. The one they picked up on Stevens, I actually felt like they could have
kept it down.
Like that one they could have kept. But there was one on Marlon Humphrey that I didn't agree with. There might have been
him and
one.
Lad McConkey, right?
Yeah. That one. There might have been one other one. So it just felt like the refs were trying to will the
Jalen
Chargers
Arbor
into the
Davis.
end zone.
It was Jalen, Marlon, and what was the one you just mentioned?
Jalen Arbor Davis, Marlon
Marlon.
Humphrey, Tre'Davious White. That was early in the game, right? Brandon Stevens. I think that was earlier in the game.
Yeah. Well, I guess the order is beside the point. But yes, the flags were flying there towards the end. Brandon Stevens did have his head turned around if we're looking for a positive on that specific play. By the way, officials picked up the flag because the ball was deemed to be uncatchable. So it wasn't necessary. And Troy Aikman's like, well, wait a second. Uncatchable or not, there's a lot of contact here. And he felt like that flag still could have been absolutely thrown and kept. But Brandon got away with one, maybe.
Okay, so there was on that final Chargers drive, there was a offensive holding on Marlon Humphrey first. Okay, and then there was the defensive pass interference from Humphrey that I disagreed with. That was going to Palmer. Then there was the Jalen Armour Davis one.
Yeah.
In the back of the end zone. That one I don't know. I kind of agreed with it. Made him a little bit slow to the ball, but it was very ticky-tack. It just felt like for the Chargers to get called for something, it had to be egregious. Whereas with the Ravens, it was like ticky-tacky, and they would call it, including the now infamous leg whip.
Pat Ricard's on the wrong side of history there for sure, which took away, of course, Nelson Aguilar's 15-yard hookup there, 17-yard hookup, I think, on the opening drive with Lamar. And hold on a second here. Let's do this and this and this. Statistically, no, you're good. I've gotten to the point where I just need to, it's so late that I need to talk things out loud what I'm doing multitasking-wise. The Ravens were penalized 9 times for 102 yards. Chargers, 7 for 62. And yeah, this was pretty strange because while there was contact made, it didn't necessarily throw off 48.
Not at all. And it also didn't look, not that it has to be intentional, but it didn't throw him off. And it just looked like his momentum is that he fell forward and then he was turning around to see what was going on. It's not like he was sticking his leg out, you know what I mean? I just think it was his momentum and he's trying to, look at what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you said, it was like his toe touched him. The toe touched him. There was one time where it looked like Deontay Johnson got tackled. And it's okay, you want to call that incidental, their feet this was incidental and it didn't even affect anything.
Yeah.
It just felt like this ticky-tack stuff, but it's going to be funny to always come back to this leg whip, the leg whip. I'm always going to remember this now. I didn't even know that was a thing.
They continue to not play clean special teams. Devontae Walker had a tough rep. There was another special teams penalty tonight. You had an illegal formation called on Roger Rosengarten that we referenced earlier on in the show, which wasn't talked about all that much because of Lamar's heroics to run it in from the 10 after being backed up from first and goal positioning. We mentioned all the majority of the defensive calls, including the DPI that was picked up on Brandon Stevens. Trying to think of the other notes within the penalty category that deserve
we already talked
mentions.
About Roger Rosengarten.
I did, yeah. Charlie Kohler, for what it's worth, this is not along the lines of the penalty conversation, but Jeff Zarebek noted that Charlie left the locker room with his right arm / wrist wrapped in a sling.
Blech.
So along the injury categories, it didn't seem like there was all that much to talk about tonight. But one to watch going into a short week is Charlie Kohler, who, again, left the locker room with his right arm or wrist or both in a sling.
We definitely need to mention this. Well, we'll hit this first on defense. Kyle Van Noy had a pretty nice sack. It was funny. Every time the Ravens got to him, remember when Marlon Humphrey got to him, it didn't count as a sack, but it made him throw the ball away early and it was an incompletion. Marlon was so quick to make sure he landed to the side of Herbert instead of on top of him.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Van Noy nailed him, but he
Yeah.
also didn't land on top of him. And each time they're like, "Are you okay, buddy?" Like they're always like looking at it's like a kid who like siblings who get in a fight and then they look at your parent. And you're like, "Oh, I just hit him, but let me help him get up. See, I care. I care.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in trouble." Like that's
Yep.
the way it kind of looked on both of them. But he nailed him. And Kyle Van Noy is now 1 sack away, 12 weeks into the season, tying last season's career high of 9. So he's up to 8. So we got his sack. Brennan Stevens got a sack. Odafe got a sack and a holding call, which was important in the drive that it was on. And then I don't know if I'm going to say his name right, but he was elevated just before the game from the practice squad. Tupou.
Josh Tupou. Yep.
Tupou. He got a sack. So 4 of them. And it was good. I think once the Ravens, I liked Zach Orr, felt like he had seen that once he started getting pressure that like Herbert was just a little bit, it just wasn't on as much on top of his game. And the Ravens were able to get pressure on there. So I thought that was a good game plan. Once he started sending the DBs, getting after him and just kind of upsetting him. Anything else on defense before we get to Jay Tuck?
Yes. KVN 1 sack away from tying last season's career high of 9.
Just said that.
Oh my gosh.
It's on the screen.
Oh, this is going downhill fast. You better rally, Bob. You better rally.
I've definitely
never
done that before.
I hate that though. Not necessarily when you do it. I hate
was
that
just
for
so
me.
obvious though that I had to call it out. I've definitely done that to you before because either you're like getting ready for the next slide or we're looking at chat or whatever. But this one was just so obvious because I just said it and it's on the screen.
I hate this is a stickler of mine when I make mistakes like that. Let's get to special teams before I screw things up more, huh?
Let's go to this way. Here, take Justin Tucker. I haven't said anything on him yet.
Yeah. I mean, certainly a step in the right direction for 9, right down Main Street, 45 yards out. Helped the Ravens extend their lead 17-13. That was the opening drive at the half. And from 45 out, a good start. Made all of his extra points tonight, Sarah. I think that there's not a lot of bathroom breaks happening anymore within the fan base at the field when he's kicking. It's not meaning like you don't feel like it's guaranteed, but
okay, is that what you meant?
Well, I've heard in the past some people use Justin's time.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, it's automatic. Like it's funny because again, I would just rarely even tweet about it when he would make a field goal. Like it would have to be like 55 plus in order for me to tweet about it because he was so automatic. But tonight, and he connected on 45. It was right down the middle. It was perfect. So hopefully it turned from that 54-yarder from Pittsburgh, carried it over into this game, 45-yarder. He's just got to keep it up. Listen, I mean, we've said it a few times, but it's like if Justin Tucker plays like Justin Tucker, if the Ravens stop shooting themselves in the foot with penalties, and again, they still had a ton of penalties, but they were so much better than the Chargers that they overcame them. Cannot do that against elite defenses. And but if Justin Tucker plays like he can, if the Ravens are true to their formula of let Derrick Henry set up the rest of the offense, the running game set it up, you'll be as explosive as ever. And the defense has finally found a formula with the defensive backs. That was the last piece that we were waiting to see the formula. Now we know the formula. Everybody else just has to play to it. Just play to it, and you'll be fine.
Short week coming up. And Philadelphia is playing as good as anybody right now. It's a home game, week 13 at the bank on Sunday. Sharu Hashmi. What's up, Sharu? Finally a good game. Thanks, Bobby and Sarah, for doing this so late. Sharu, Sarah, by the way, is currently nursing a torn ACL. So he's been watching a lot of us. He's got his feet up, and he's watching a lot of us. So hopefully your recovery is going in the right direction, Sharu. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
JP Bug says, does Barbasol qualify as a leg whip? Diesel Doctor says, excellent win. We have felt what the Chargers are feeling way too many times under Roman. Let's stack these wins and win the AFC North. How do you think Quentin Johnston's feeling? Couple key drops tonight, one of which he had open daylight on in the fourth quarter, and that was gutting. gutting for the Chargers.
Okay, I have two things to say on Roman. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing it up, Diesel Doctor. Number one, when the Chargers opened up with a beautiful first drive that ended in a touchdown, I have to admit I was not worried. I was like, this is gonna fizzle out for Roman. Like, he does a pretty good job putting together the first, kind of scripted thing, but I don't think this is gonna carry on the whole night. That's number one. Number two, I have to say, that's tough for Roman when he has something to prove and his players are missing catches and not executing. There were a couple of times the broadcast caught him up in the booth being like, "Oh," like, just like it was right there for us. It was right there. So his players didn't come through for him the way the Ravens players came through for John, especially on fourth downs. So I wasn't too concerned after the opening for Roman, but I do want to give him a shout out. I don't feel like his players kind of had him in the big moments when I feel like he drew up pretty decent plays.
Chargers were 5 for 14 on third down, and Quentin's got several of those drops. Diesel went on to say, let's stack these wins and win the AFC North. I got to watch the game at my hotel in Towson, Maryland this time. Ravens country. Let's see. Joe Jenkins writes, defense looks better these last two games. Too many flags. Brandon says the difference in the win wasn't just the Chargers losing JK in the second half, but thankfully trading off Keenan Allen in the offseason. That was a significant departure prior. I believe that was prior to the Jim Harbaugh tenure or right at the start of it. Kwame with what currency is this? Kwame, what currency is this? Anyway, thank you for the super sticker. I would love to know where that currency is. Juju Bean says, I'm calling it. Right after Kendrick Lamar performs, we get the second half kickoff in the Super Bowl, and Keaton returns it for a touchdown or gets it into the 10-yard line. Trying to channel some future circumstances. Dream says, I agree with Sarah, but the final piece of the defense is cleaning up the middle of the field in defense. Certainly needed to be cleaned up on that opening drive, for sure. Some numbers that stuck out to me. We've already mentioned a few of them. 3 for 3 on fourth down, 8 for 15 on third down, Sarah. They won the time of possession battle narrowly, 30 minutes and 57 seconds to LA's 29 minutes and 3 seconds.
LA, yeah, that was a big flip because LA had a huge advantage after that first quarter, so the Ravens had to make it up. So that just shows you how much the Ravens came back.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The Ravens averaged 6.5 yards per play. At one point, the broadcast showed the season average for the Ravens at 7.1. That's never happened in NFL history if they end up finishing that.
Jeez.
7.1. They were penalized 9 times for 102 yards, as we've mentioned.
Yeah.
They averaged 5.7 yards per rush, did the Ravens. And the King led the way with 140 plus. Great day for 22. Great day for the Ravens. They are now a half game out of first place in the AFC North with the Philadelphia Eagles looming on Sunday, as we've mentioned a few times.
Oh my gosh. The King Henry, Saquon Barkley storylines are going to be off the charts. That's going to be quite the battle. The battle. Woo! Woo! This game just finished and I already can't wait for that one.
Right.
Let's go. I guess we got to have Thanksgiving first.
We do. We have a lot. It's going to be a jam. Yeah, it's going to be an awesome week. Holidays.
Partner.
Yes.
At some point, we have to have a segment where we just talk about what we're grateful for. All right?
All right.
I just want to put that out there for you to kind of think about.
Love it.
A little bit.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to be live on Thanksgiving Day, just so everybody knows. We will have some piece of content for you that day.
TBD.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there. We'll see what the national reaction to this one is. The Harbaugh Bowl. Jack and Jackie celebrated their 63rd wedding anniversary on Monday. It's now Tuesday, technically. They were in Florida with other family members. They did not make the trip. And I'm sure that was one of those tricky things, right?
I think it's just smart of them. They've been through this so many times before that, they go to Jim because they want to go and support him. But then they probably realize, like, this isn't helping anything. Like, we're just here all sulking to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just an impossible situation to be in. So I don't think it was that. I think it was kind of a wise move. Let's just remove ourselves from it.
The Jim Harbaugh pregame quote was pretty funny about his brother.
What was it?
Let me make sure I get this down because this is funny.
Yes, let's get it right.
It was just like such a classic Jim Harbaugh quote. Let's see. I'd lay down my life for my brother, but I wouldn't let him win a football game.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. If anybody were ever to like threaten a sibling of yours, like you lose your mind. You lose your mind. But if it's you against your sibling, it's like anything goes. Anything goes. It's on, and it means more to you than anything.
No doubt.
I'd lay down my life for my brother, but I won't let him win a football game.
Gotta love that family, man. That family is something else.
Well, it's funny because I remember talking to Jackie Harbaugh for the podcast I did on the family.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was a part of me that was thinking, I wonder if Jack and Jackie kind of secretly wanted Jim to get one. Because I know for me, if I see like my two boys playing something, like if there's one of them, it becomes lopsided. I start rooting for the underdog, and I want them to just kind of meet them back and, get to 500 if they can. So there's a part of me that kind of wants that. But then I thought back to Jackie telling me that like for years, it was Jim who was like the more athletic one. Right. And so he was the one who obviously was playing quarterback in the NFL and playing big time in college. And John wasn't as athletic. He was still, he's still more athletic than probably anybody listening to us tonight. Right. He was like
Division I player.
Yeah, Division I defensive back. So it's not like he wasn't. It's not like he was like some unathletic, uncoordinated person off in the corner. Like he still played and he was good to be a Division I defensive back. You got to be fast to be a defensive back, right? And so, but Jim was just another level when it came to actually playing. He's bigger and all of that. And so for Jackie, she was proud of John as a coach because he always had to live in the shadow of Jim. And so now as they're both coaches, it's kind of reversed itself. But Jim has had his national championship, though, on the college level. He just hasn't had success over his older brother. So anyway, my thought originally was maybe they kind of want Jim to win. But then again, maybe Jackie's still remembering all those years that John had to live in Jim's shadow.
Yeah. The broadcast was talking about how loose they felt like Jim seems these days back in the NFL in Los Angeles. He really is a loose guy. I mean, the guy was living out of an RV. Is he still? At the beginning of his tenure with the Chargers, maybe it was just during training camp, he was living in an RV.
That wouldn't surprise me. Well, he has like 7 kids, right? He has 7?
Does he really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has 7 kids. And so my point being is that that's hard to move the whole family. I don't know if they like stayed in Michigan. How many kids? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has oh, okay, 5. I thought he had more than that.
But it's so true. He does seem like he's just so loose and free-spirited right now and just enjoying his transition back to the NFL. So
Yep.
Eduardo says, just got home from the game at SoFi. Oh, nice. My daughter's first ever Ravens game.
Nice.
Very cool, Eduardo. Appreciate the super chat. Hope you guys had a fantastic game night experience. I hear SoFi is tremendous. Jason443 says, what are y'all's biggest takeaway from tonight? Chat, you tell them. What are your biggest takeaways? We've given you ours. What are your biggest takeaways?
Oh, sorry. I'll just repeat real quick. Defensive formula found on the defensive back's end. Continue to remember your identity, which is to be patient with Derrick Henry because he opens up everything else and you become more explosive than if you aren't patient. John Harbaugh has Jim Harbaugh's number in the coaching sphere. And I think those are the big ones for me.
Yeah. Well, it's a 4:25 kickoff coming up on Sunday, December 1st.
See,
Marlon Humphrey has went live.
Now this other place is saying he does have 7 kids. That's what I thought. There's one place saying 5, another place saying 7. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
But I think when you combine from his first marriage and his second marriage, so he's got 3 from his first marriage, 1, 2, 3, 4 in his second, so 7. I'm one of 7, by the way.
You
It's
are?
great to be from big families. I'm number
You
6
are.
of 7. Yeah.
And you got a busy week coming up, and as I'm sure a lot in the chat audience do as well. We hope you guys are having a fantastic start to Thanksgiving week. You can officially start to celebrate, I guess, now, maybe early with this win. And it's a 4:25 kickoff. Week 13, Ravens Eagles coming up on Sunday. We will have our noon lunch hour live stream tomorrow. We will as well on Wednesday. Thursday will be something taped to be determined. And we're still kind of figuring out the rest of the schedule throughout the back half of the week. So special thank you to GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, for the continued support that they give us via post-game title show sponsor. It's been awesome working with them, and we hope that you guys will consider taking a look at their sweepstakes right now, their tunnel takeover. This is an annual sweepstakes that they do. You have a chance to score game tickets to the December 21st Ravens Steelers Chapter 2 game, which is in Baltimore. You'll also win game day parking if you're chosen, backyard bash passes, and more. You can get up close as the Ravens get ready to storm the field by entering the GEHA Tunnel Takeover Sweepstakes. BaltimoreRavens.com/GEHA. Click on the link that we have included as a pinned comment in the live chat. And that will be that. All 3,900 plus of you. We hit just over 3,900 in terms of peak concurrent viewership tonight. If you haven't already done so, we're trying to hit that 20,000 subscription count number. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily live content. A quick sleep for you and I. We'll be back for a Victory Tuesday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream in 10 hours or so. Did I
Sounds
botch
about right.
that? Yeah. Ish. So, anyway, partner, great stuff. Thanks to all of you for dropping by, and we will catch up with you later today. It's Tuesday. It's a video.
Close it. Just close it.
I can't do it.
I feel like you've said goodbye 3 times.
I can do it.
You got it. Hey, this one's it. Here we go. In 3,
I'm telling
2,
you, it's tough, man.
1.
Our Jag B's like, what happened?
Nope.
I don't know. What happened? No ghosts. It's just like, this guy's a disaster. Get him off the show. All right, people. For Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett, signing off from Week 12 of this NFL regular season. The 8-4 Baltimore Ravens now get ready for the Philadelphia Eagles, which is coming up on Sunday. They are a half game out of the division with a lot of football left to go. For Sarah, I'm Bobby, signing off. We'll catch up with you later on today. And as always, thanks for joining us here inside the vault. We'll talk.